Jeanette, Patrick, thanks so much for coming down to talk with us about this. I know you've both really closely followed the stories, and I wanted to start just by kind of getting your initial reaction to the inner workings and the results of this ATF operation that took place in Albuquerque last year. So Jeanette, let's start with you. What stood out most to you when you started to learn about the way this all transpired?
That it was done secretly. One of the things that I said, why are you going on the down low with this? Targeting people of color, specifically African Americans. Why are you going after the population? Why aren't you going after the other part of the population? It's not just African Americans. You have a Native American population that has the same problems. Why aren't you going after them? But why are you singling out African Americans? Is this a slap in the face to us as a community? Do we matter? Apparently we don't.
Patrick, what troubled you in particular about the design of the operation as you began to learn about it?
I think it was just problematic all the way around. One of the most disturbing things after reading the article was that they were attacking our black institutions again, particularly where black men go to the barbershop, for example, Thomas Bell. These have historically been strong institutions within the black community. So it was, again, really a slap in our face, particularly how much work we've been doing with the current administration and APD. So it was a really...
The Mayor Richard Berry's administration, you mean?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And so it was some of those particular tactics that it seems like really bothered you. They used a small number of confidential informants,
right,
and they were sending these black confidential informants into black barbershops to target people in this operation. Talk to me about how that sort of plugs into a longer historical arc of the way the black community has been policed.
Right. If we look historically at the FBI program, CONTELPRO, they used the same tactics, right? This happened in the early 60s and the 70s, right? And we thought we had moved on from these unsound tactics. But as we see, they're still doing it, but it's just evolved to another level. So.
And what particularly about that, what buttons does that push for you as a black man who lives here in Albuquerque?
Again, as a black man, I think going into our black institutions, particularly the barbershop, this is one of the only places that black men go and feel safe, where we can be our natural selves. W. Du Bois always talks about this double consciousness in America, right? But in the barbershop, we can be who we are. So if we can't go into the barbershop and feel safe in this space, where can we be to be authentic and feel safe?
Jeanette, I want to move to you a little bit. There's just no getting around or denying that Albuquerque has a crime problem. We've seen, almost historic spikes over the past, 6 or 8 years of violent crime and property crime in the city. I know that you live in the neighborhood that was targeted in this ATF operation, and so I have to ask you: Do you feel safer as a result, or in the aftermath of this big sting?
Absolutely not. And to go on what Patrick was saying, as a woman of color, I don't feel comfortable even walking down the street. I'm still looking behind my back, thinking that APD is going to bust me. Okay, she's a person. You do not feel safe. Are they going to target me? Are they going to attack me? Are they going to stop me for simply waiting for a bus or walking to work? I just do not feel safe.
You don't feel safe kind of from the crime end and from the law enforcement end? Does it feel like you're getting it sort of from both ends?
Both ends, because up until 2 years ago, I was a street performer downtown on Central on weekends, and there were situations where things would happen, I would get attacked, my audience would get attacked, even the food trucks would get attacked, and we'd ask APD for help. They would be, in effect, protecting the offenders and not helping my audience or me or the business people. Basically, we're ignored. They're profiling me and making me fill out cards. I don't feel comfortable. I've lost trust in the law enforcement here.
And of course, this was a federal operation, right, that did have some connection to the local police, to APD. We're not sure exactly what that connection was, but do you feel like that it blurs the lines, that people don't really distinguish between whether it's federal law enforcement or local law enforcement, that this just erodes the trust in law enforcement in general?
Oh, most definitely. It's just it was done on the down low. And what we've also said before we start taping was that why weren't the organizations, the community organizations, informed about this? Why weren't the community informed about this going on? Why are you doing this on the down low? Why are you going to the city and doing it on the down low? Is there something dirty? My mom used to call dirty pool. That is what happened. Everything's done under the table, and that erodes your trust.
And that's a good transition. Patrick, you are second vice president of the local NAACP chapter and also a member of the Sankofa Men's Leadership Exchange.
Yes.
From that perspective, what comes up for you around this? What do you wish might have happened differently in the run-up to this?
Right. Again, I think that if it would have been a lot more transparency, I think this could have been prevented. I just want to go back a little bit to what she said, that you keep mentioning it was a federal operation. Mm-hmm. Two things stood out, right? To me, APD didn't use any type of data to select where they're going to target at, right? The second point that was really alarming was that we keep saying it was a federal operation, but we know that they had to work together. They just can't come in and run an operation without any type of oversight for APD. So I think that it's just a hush-hush right now. But logically, I don't see a federal operation going into the city of Albuquerque without APD command knowing about it, which means that the mayor probably had to know something about this.
And you wish that there had been some communication with the two organizations you work for. How could that have worked? What could they have asked you?
I'm not in law enforcement, but I would hope they could have came and say, well, you know what, we're having a particular issue in this area. Right. Do you have any suggestions before we start this operation? We know that they can't tell us everything, but you could have gave us a head up. Hey, we're having a lot of issues over in this area. Can we work together and do some preventive stuff before bringing in these federal agents?
Gotcha.
And that didn't happen.
Jeanette, you are, of course, a transplant to Albuquerque, originally growing up in South Central Los Angeles. So these kinds of operations and these kinds of tactics are nothing new to you. This is something that you've seen before.
This goes on.
So how have those kinds of operations played out, and what have they done to the community in a place like Los Angeles?
Very negative, because you still see the repercussions even 50 years later after the first uprising, and even before that, before I was born. I knew the stories from what my mother and my grandparents told me, what they went through. LAPD has had a history of it. And even with COINTELPRO, I lived right down the street from where the Black Panthers had their headquarters. I still remember seeing that raid. And I was about 6 years old when that happened. And that all plays into it. The same situations that was going on in the 60s, 70s, maybe even the 50s, is going on now. And we're seeing it here in Albuquerque.
And what was the reaction from the community as people learned about these kinds of things? How did the community and the leadership of Black organizations react when news like the stories I've been reporting here came to light?
Locally, I haven't heard much, and that disappoints me. Very disappointing. I would love to have seen them on TV right then and there saying something. Back in LA, something like this happens, you see the leaders out there, you see the politicians. They're immediately on at the headquarters of NAACP, Urban League, Brotherhood Crusade. I can name a whole bunch of organizations. They're in front of KJLH, they're in front of the LA stations. They're demanding answers right then and there, and they stay on it. No one is staying on it here.
Patrick, I want to let you respond to that. What do you think about what Jeanette is saying?
I think she has valid points, but I think being in leadership here, we have to be really objective, right? And a lot of times people are really emotional, and you can't make really good decisions when you're emotional, right? So let's gather the facts. Instead of reacting, why don't we come up with a sound strategy to move forward? I just don't believe in this reactionary politics, right? I believe in being proactive, but in these type of cases, these type of cases, being objective, not being emotional, gathering the facts, and then coming up with a strategic plan and moving forward.
And I know that part of that for the two groups you work with, you do want some answers and you'd like to see some reform. And I know your groups are working on drafting some letters to send to local leaders and to the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Correct.
And I know from my own reporting that the U.S. Attorney's Office is on the record now saying that if you ask the question, they will respond. What is your hope going forward in terms of starting that dialogue, and how do you anticipate that going from here?
Right. And I think first and foremost, like our Ms. Jay was saying, is that we have to build this trust again. So what we're hoping to do is start a dialogue, and then again, what type of policies can we put in place to prevent things like this from happening? Again, I know that the federal government is not going to be too willing to go in and tell us all about their operations, but yeah, and hopefully we can say, hopefully in the near future they'll say, well, we're having an issue in this area. What do you think we can do to work together to resolve these issues, right? If not, then they can go in.
Jeanette, what kind of reforms would you like to see? It sounds like Patrick's aim here is really to try to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. What would you like to see happen as a result of some sunshine on this?
I'd like to see more cooperation from the city government, because for so long, whoever mayor we've had in all the years I've lived here, and that's been almost 14, we're ignored. We're just basically pushed aside. We're told to go to Los Angeles for help. We need to get on them. Whoever comes in as mayor in October, December, whenever that is, get on him immediately. Say, listen to us. Make sure this does not happen again. Otherwise, the same things that happened in Charlotte, happened in Baltimore, Ferguson, LA, I can name every city. It's going to happen again, and it's going to keep happening. And bring in the attorney's office, even given what's going on in Washington, with you know who in office. I have no respect for that. You've got to stay on it. And you've got to be more vocal.
Thanks very much to both of you for coming down and talking to us.
Thank you
Thank
for
you very
having us.
much. Thank you.